It's no secret that the Chinese brands are taking Australia's affordable EV space by storm. The 3 cheapest electric vehicles in Australia are all Chinese and all start under 40 grand. But this Nissan Sakura is even cheaper again. It's a Japanese K car that Nissan says has some global potential and could even upset the Chinese apple cart by arriving cheaper than those core rivals. How cheap? Well, this one starts at about 2.5 million yen, which translates to roughly 27,000 Australian dollars. So let's go see what it can do.
Okay, so as we've covered, this is a cheap as chips city EV that starts, in Japan at least, at around 27,000 bucks. And let me tell you, business is booming. The Sakura is now the best-selling EV in that country, accounting at times for about half of all EV sales. But the thing is, it really doesn't feel like a cheap EV. The material choices are super clever, giving off premium vibes while avoiding expensive leather and things like that. And the tech in the cabin is pretty much on point too. There's a 9-inch central screen with wireless Apple CarPlay and a second 7-inch screen in front of the driver, and there's a digital climate control panel. The headlights are LEDs, while the rear lights in the upper spec cars are LEDs too, and the wide bench-like front seats feel like couches at your nan's place, while the copper trimming is a really nice cabin touch too.
I gotta say, I really like the way this thing looks, but then I do have a soft spot for small and quirky cars. And no, there's not a lot of it, but there are some really nice details. I love the alloy wheels, for example, the two-tone paint, and I love this stripe that runs from the front to the back. And I really like this sort of squared off front end. Now this Nissan badge glows, and the LED light treatment's really nice as well. Those DRLs coming down in a kind of angle, giving the front a kind of Predator mouth vibe, but I mean that in a good way. Now inside it's really everything you need and nothing you don't. The interior is available in just 3 colors, black, beige or gray. But I gotta say, there's something really nice about it. These chairs remind me of my parents' old couch. They're really wide and really comfy. You kind of sink into them. And actually there's a fair bit of tech on display as well, more than you might expect at this price point. How long is it? Well, it's exactly this long, which I now know is about 3.4 meters in length. And inside there's seating for just 4. And at the boot here, it opens to reveal just 107 litres of luggage space. But remember, this is a city car with city dimensions. It's not a long distance tourist, so how much space do you really need? Now, I know what you're thinking, right? Tiny exterior dimensions means no space inside, but I've got a bit of a surprise for you. Again, I'm sitting on this couch-like rear seat, which I absolutely love. And look at the space I've got on offer here. This is my own 175 centimetre driving position. Look at that knee room. Look at that headroom. I mean, it's ridiculous. There is genuinely a mountain of room back here.
The Sakura is a single motor, 2-wheel drive proposition with the city car producing a not so staggering 47 kilowatts and 195 newton meters and a flying top speed of 130 kilometers an hour. The 20 kilowatt hour lithium-ion battery will deliver up to 180 kilometers in WLTP driving range. Now that's not massive by any stretch, but Nissan says its owners in Japan drive less than 30 kilometers a week, which means what's on offer is plenty. And if you're thinking of a city EV as your second car, I guess you need to ask yourself, how much range do you really need? When it comes time to charge, a standard plug at home should take you around 8 hours to go from empty to full.
So you know the power outputs on offer here, they're not staggering, but you also need to remember this thing's quite light. So when you put your foot down, you're not exactly thrown back into the seat, but nor does it feel like you're taking off super slowly either. It doesn't actually feel underpowered despite what the numbers on the spec box say. Now, there are a couple of small downsides to the drive experience, of course, and one of them being that it's got that typical sort of Japanese tune to the steering, which is pretty wafty. There's not a lot of feel through it. It doesn't feel overly dynamic or overly sporty. The other downside is we've driven it around the block a couple of times, so I can't actually tell you what it's like on sort of broken road surfaces or anything like that. The roads here in Japan are typically very good. The roads in Australia are typically very bad, so how it handles those bumps is a bit of a mystery. Perhaps the biggest mystery of all is whether a vehicle like this will come to Australia at all. Now, yesterday at the Tokyo Mobility Show, Nissan's executives were pretty bullish about creating cheap EVs for the masses. They've recognized the market lead that China's been able to snaffle off them, and they want some of it back. And they're very bullish about cars like this one being global products for the first time. So cross your fingers, because you never know. Now, Australia is a market, of course, that's dominated by 3 or 4 brands, and in fact, 3 or 4 models within those brands make up the bulk of the sales. But I, for one, am going to start a campaign to bring more quirky, weird, and wonderful vehicles to Australia, and I reckon Nissan should start with this one. I really like it.
The Sakura gets Nissan's ProPilot semi-autonomous system, as well as an auto park function which will take over the steering and braking when parking. There's also 360-degree safety assist, which bundles in AEB with pedestrian detection, lane departure warning, and other active safety gear. There's front, side and curtain airbags too, while upper grades also get a driver's knee airbag. If the Sakura makes it to Australia, it will be covered by Nissan's EV warranty, which includes a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty and a battery state of health guarantee, which spans 8 years or 160,000 kilometres.
Now, a car like this is not going to be for everyone, obviously, but then why do all cars need to be for everyone? Can't we have some unique models in the lineup somewhere? The Japanese get all these cool cars, why can't we? And in a market that's currently being flooded by cheap EVs, which people can't seem to get enough of at the moment, you'd have to think Nissan would be able to find a market for a car like this in Australia, right? Surely.
いってらっしゃい。いってらっしゃい。
わあ、すごい。